Lake Mead is closing in on another unwelcome milestone as the nation's largest reservoir continues to drop toward a new record low. Lake Mead is now just inches above the record low it reached during 2022. As of Tuesday, the lake was about 6 inches above the 2022 low point, which was set 4 years ago this week. The reservoir provides water to millions of people, including southern Nevada. While conservation efforts have helped stretch the region's water supply, officials say the long-term outlook still depends on future snowpack, river flows, and a new agreement on how the Colorado River is shared.
Well, here we are, guys, a couple inches away from the all-time low in another mess. Who's going to save us now? Let's talk about it. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Joey. You're watching VegasDtech, and I am up early today, guys. 6:30 in the morning. I gotta get out of here and beat the heat. It's been absolutely ridiculous, guys. If I stay any later trying to make this video, it's gonna be 1:13 today, and I can't take it. The cameras can't take it. They overheat so fast. And anyways, today I was planning to go out to Hoover Dam and look around and produce this report from Hoover Dam, but guess what? I find out that Hoover Dam is actually closed today. Yes, they closed the dam again. Why? Something to do with the trolley conveyor system is broken, and that those conveyor systems are used to haul equipment down to the turbines down at the bottom of the dam, and since they are having a problem with that thing being broken, they just decided they're going to close access to the dam to everybody. So I have to go do a neighborhood walk and talk.
Hoover Dam remains closed to visitors after an equipment problem involving the massive cableway system. This is the large sky crane originally used when building the dam and still used today to move heavy equipment to and from the power plant at the bottom of the dam. While this is being fixed, Bureau of Reclamation officials stress that the dam is still operating safely. The Bureau says the 150-ton cableway unexpectedly moved during routine maintenance, putting extra stress on parts of the system. A specialty contractor will inspect the equipment Wednesday before crews can safely reposition it. Officials say they can't estimate when the landmark will reopen to visitors.
So today, guys, we're hovering just a couple of inches above the all-time low. The water level at Lake Mead today, guys, is 1,041.15 feet. That's right, we're just a couple of inches away from the all-time low. I can't believe it, guys. I didn't think that this would happen again, you know, but here we are. What have we learned? I mean, we were at an all-time low in 2022, and then we had, what, 4 years in which we could have done something about it? And what have we done? Nothing. Nothing has happened in 4 years, and we're right back where we started. Right now, all across the United States, we have a humongous heat dome just sitting right over the top of the United States. And I'm talking about everywhere from the West Coast to the East Coast. Everybody is getting unprecedented amount of heat. High temperatures everywhere. Like I said, today is supposed to be anywhere between 111 to 113. And I'm sorry about this sun, guys. I'm out here way early in the morning just to try to get this report to you. And I was trying to get this thing done from Hoover Dam, but unfortunately I couldn't do that. So it looks like Representative Congresswoman Dina Titus is trying to ask the federal government to appropriate some money to help with this whole problem with the water at Lake Mead. So Congresswoman Dina Titus says that there is $6 billion sitting in a government fund for the Inflation Reduction Act, and that she views that this is a state of national security, the water situation, and that she doesn't want to see the funds left to dry like Lake Mead is drying right now, and she's asking the government to appropriate some money. They're trying to figure out, okay, who's going to get the money and what's it going to be used for, and nobody has been able to come up and say exactly what it's going to be used for. She says that we just need the money for regulations and more conservation. Conservation by whom? This is the question that I always have. You can't just throw money at this situation here. The Colorado River water situation, guys, is a dwindling water resource. How is federal government printing money and throwing money to the states and water authorities? How is that going to help the situation? It's always corruption that comes out of it, right? I mean, I don't understand. Now, here's another situation which I find funny. The Trump administration has agreed to pay California $65 million to a water authority out there to leave 3 feet of water in Lake Mead, which they agree they can do. And my question is, if you have the ability to conserve water, why aren't you just doing that? If you have the ability to use less water, why don't you just bank the water in Lake Mead, leave it in there as a credit for future use? If you have the ability to conserve the water, then why aren't you conserving the water? Why must the federal government give you money in order to do your due diligence? You know, I have a couple of subscribers, you know, farmers that actually send me messages and tell me that their hands are tied in this situation. Even when they get water, if they don't need to use it all, they cannot store it. You know, even if they have the infrastructure to store the water to where their yield doesn't require them to use all the water right now, they can't just divert that water to a holding pond to use for a later yield. They have a use it or lose it clause. Use it or lose it. But yet, the water authority down there can be paid $65 million to do just that. But I gotta ask you this question. When they ask people to conserve, who are they asking to conserve? When the Congresswoman is asking the federal government to give us money so that we can start doing more conservation acts, conservation for what? Look at the neighborhoods around me here, guys. There is no grass around these neighborhoods. Why? Because we have been incentivized right now to rip up all of our lawns and go to desert landscaping. So all the new businesses and all the new homes that are out here, they are all built with architecture that are desert themed, just like this. And they're incentivizing everybody out here to rip up your lawns and get a credit. So if you want, you can go to like artificial turf, or you could just go to natural rock. But as far as grass, they don't want you using that no more. So right now, we're doing everything that we can as residents here in Las Vegas to conserve our water. You know what I mean? I mean, we don't have any grass in our lawns. We're only allowed to water like 2 times a week, and you're only allowed to use those trickle irrigation things, like, you know, the little teeny drip systems. And God forbid, if you're going to wash your car, you better have a bucket. None of that water that you use to wash your car, none of it better hit the street, because they have the water authority driving around, and if they see any of your water hitting the street, that's an automatic ticket and a fine. So I'm asking you this question: why does it seem like all the water conservation has to come from residents? Why are they still approving all of these developments? You know, so in my belief, man, they're not stopping the permits of building homes. I mean, we have built the entire valley all the way out from mountain's edge to mountain's edge, north, west, east, and south. We have all the way from the base of the mountains all the way to the base of the other mountains. Home tracts are everywhere, guys. There's nowhere else to build. I mean, they're actually right now chiseling away at the mountains and building homes all up along the mountains. If you can afford to build a home up there, they're not going to stop, guys. You know, and here's the situation. Vegas is not going to stop incentivizing people to move out here to the desert, but we're supposed to be in a state of conservation. So it's just like, hey guys, welcome to Las Vegas, come move out here, but don't use the water. It doesn't make any sense. You know, it used to be that these permits and so forth, guys, people would use common sense. They know that we're not supposed to be building stuff and expanding the way that we are, but too much money comes into the hands of the wrong people, and those permits get approved each and every time. Now, what I don't understand is, the last that I read is that if you're a business or if you're building homes, in order to get a permit approved to build a tract of homes or to build a new business, you have to show that there is going to be 20 years of guaranteed water. How is that even possible? We're at the all-time record low again, and we're expected to drop 38 more feet in the next 24 months. Does that sound like something that's sustainable?
The forecast gets a little less pleasant for water levels at Lake Mead. The Bureau of Land Reclamation says it now expects the water level to drop below the historic low set in 2022 by the end of next month. And by June of 2028, the level is expected to be 31 feet below that historic mark. The forecast reflects low snowfall levels and a plan to reduce flows into Lake Mead to protect Lake Powell's infrastructure.
But yet, guys, the money is just too powerful. When the money comes in and it's too powerful, those permits are going to get signed. And that's just how it is. It's just corruption all the way around. But you know what? They can't even deny it anymore. They're not denying it. They know that the water is bad. They know that the situation is a mess. Vegas knew that this day was going to come. Why else do you think Las Vegas implemented that third water straw and built that tunnel under Lake Mead? We're supposed to be a shining example of conservation, and that all sounds good. But if we were so good at conservation and they already had 2 water straws, number 1 intake is coming out of the water and number 2 is only about 15 feet below that. If we were doing so good and we are guaranteed that we're not going to have a water problem out here, why did they invest like what, $1.6 billion to push that pipe under Lake Mead so that they would be the last man standing? Why? It was to give them an ace up their sleeve. Yeah, guys, this is an absolute mess. I don't know exactly how things are going to change, and I don't really understand how throwing money at this situation is going to make it any better. The Colorado River can no longer support all of the growth in the Southwest. I said it time and time again. Vegas should be closed. Phoenix should be closed. There is no more need for people to move out here to these areas out in the middle of the desert when there's absolutely no guarantee that the water is going to continue to be here forever. Come on, guys. We're at the all-time historic low again, and they're expecting it to drop 38 more feet within the next 24 months. And then we're going to go ahead and ask the federal government to give money. Give money to what? You know, I tell you what, it's time that the federal government steps in and they're the one to take control. They should be the ones saying, you know what, guys, you already had your time to do and shine and do what you say you were going to do, and you didn't do it. It's time for you guys to step aside because, you know, you had 3 or 4 decades to clean up your act and get something done. In my opinion, what needs to happen is the federal government should not be giving the money to the states. Don't give the money to the states. It always winds up in corruption. It goes into the pockets of people that aren't going to do anything about it. If the federal government wanted to do something, they need to build architecture. They need to be able to pipe in water that is too much in one area of the United States and pump it into another area that needs it. Now, one thing that they could do is decide, you know what, we're not going to give California the money. First of all, California is the biggest consumer of all the water coming out of Lake Mead. The majority of the water is used by California. Why doesn't the federal government just go ahead and decide in Northern California, they're gonna go ahead and build desal plants up there? They've got the money, they've got the engineers, they've got the power. In all those areas up north that people can't live in because the terrain is too rocky and too terrible, well, they're just gonna have to start doing excavation to build desal plants. And when they build the desal plants and they take half of the water consumption that California needs, and they take the desal plants and pipe that water down south to where they need it, and then that'll cut down on how much water they actually need to pull from the Colorado, and they should be something that's sustainable. It doesn't matter. Yes, California has water rights, but you know what? They didn't pay for those desal plants. If the federal government are the ones that are paying for the desal plants, they're paying for it, they're managing it, they are making fresh water out of salt water, and they're pumping it down south to where it's needed, and you combine that with the other half of the water that's coming out of the Colorado River, then they've got their water allocation. That's how I see them able to utilize the federal money and not just give it to the states, because if they do, it'll be squandered and we'll be right back to where we are right now. Here's a photo of what the water situation at Lake Mead looked like when I was in high school, when we first moved out to Las Vegas, compared to what it looks like at Lake Mead now. Just take a look at that disaster. You tell me in over 4 decades, almost 5 decades, you tell me that in 4 decades that all of the Colorado Water Authority couldn't figure out something in 4 decades, and once again, they're expecting it to drop another 38 feet. Guys, Deadpool is like 950 feet. If they drop another 38 feet below what we have right now, dude, we're sitting at about 60 feet above Deadpool. Now, Deadpool just means that there's still water there, but you know what? The power production at Hoover Dam will be 0, because there will be absolutely no head pressure to push those turbines around. And where are we gonna get all this energy needed for all these, what, 2.5, 3 million people to have their AC running out here in the desert? Where are they gonna get that energy from? You know, another thing that's happening right now, and it's a damn shame, is Boulder City is fighting with the data centers that are wanting to be with the data centers moving into their communities out there. At one time, Boulder City used to be a quaint little city. You know, the history of Boulder City was that city was actually built for all of the people that built the Hoover Dam, okay? So it's like a nostalgic, historic little town. And for the longest time since I've been in Las Vegas, Boulder City wanted to continue to be small. They wanted to keep their development and expansion small. But lately when I've gone to Boulder City, I'm seeing all kinds of luxury sports cars, crazy cars, and people that are not from Las Vegas have moved into that city. So I'm telling you right now, the old politicians that ran that place, they're dead and gone. And it's now the younger generation that are in control. And I honestly believe the younger generation don't care, and they're just selling to the highest bidder. Because right now there's a data center that wants to move in to Boulder City, and the people out there are fighting. They have signed petitions, they have gone to council meetings, and they are not being listened to. They're not being heard. And guess what? As usual, they have found a loophole in Boulder City to allow the data center to come in. How so? Because BLM, or Bureau of Land Management, has already appropriated some land for solar farms, right? And so somehow, some way, it looks like these lawyers have said the carbon footprint of a data center is no more or no less than what a solar farm would be. So therefore, if you can appropriate the land for a solar farm, we could utilize that land to appropriate it for a data center. Guys, that sounds like absolute horse crap. How in the hell can a data center have less of a carbon footprint than a solar farm? You know what a solar farm is, right? It's just a bunch of solar panels that absorb sunlight, convert it to power to be sent somewhere to store for energy. And what does a data center do? A data center consumes power and consumes water. It absolutely is not the same thing as a solar farm. But somehow that's the loophole that they found. Here's a little clip on that.
A legal shortcut allowed plans for a data center to be greenlit in Boulder City while avoiding public scrutiny, according to a former federal official.
This parcel of land had been already permitted and gone through an environmental review with public input for a solar farm facility and battery storage. And they determined as an agency, perhaps for the first time ever, that a data center would have marginally the same effect on the environment.
That decision has upset Boulder City residents and the city council, which had been discussing a lease for a data center on city-owned property. Former BLM official Mike Ford called the decision unprecedented and a liberal interpretation of existing law and regulations. He says the agency will face an uphill battle should the federal government be challenged in court. In a statement, BLM National Director Steve Pierce said the project reflected responsible stewardship and sustainable use of public lands.
But anyways, guys, that's everything I have for you today. I can already start to feel the heat coming up, and I want to get out of here before it gets way too hot. And then I still have to go and edit this video and try to get it out to you today by 5 o'clock. Anyways, folks, if you found this information beneficial, useful, or even entertaining, please do me a kindness, like the video, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. So anyways, folks, I wanted to go out to Lake Mead today. Not really Lake Mead. I wanted to go to Hoover Dam and have a look around, see if anything looks anything, you know, different, and show you the views out there. But they closed the dam. Couldn't get out there because I found out that for some reason they're having some problems with that crane. So I'll have to probably try to do that within the next couple of days to get back out there and take a look around for you. But anyways, guys, that's everything that I have for you today on this report of the absolute mess and the historic low that we are at, inches away from being. And guys, if you found this information beneficial, useful, or even entertaining, if you could do me a kindness, like the video, subscribe if you haven't done so already. And I appreciate you tuning in. I'm gonna edit this video and get it uploaded to you by around 5 o'clock today. And I will catch you guys on the next video upload. You guys be well. I'm Joey, you're watching VegasDtech. You guys have a wonderful afternoon. Take it easy now. Bye.